Brad, you introduced a lot of new technology here. What would you say the key points are that make your car different than the other cars?
Well, the IFS isn't necessarily new. It's been around for a long time, so that really wouldn't be a key point. Some of the key points are all aluminum upper control arms and all aluminum lower control arms. We are utilizing a diesel engine, a 6.6 Duramax, and that runs really, really good in the rocks. Just having the power off of idle is phenomenal. The torque is there, the boost is there, everything's there you need to crawl. So that works out really nice. One of the other aspects of the car, our tire inflation system, which is very unique. It's not unique to this style of car. Hummer's used tire inflation system for years, so we basically just used their system and made it a little bit better.
Were you able to utilize that system and test it out in the race?
Oh yeah, we utilized it quite regularly. We would start out with 30 pounds of tire pressure in the desert sections, and then we would air down to less than 5 pounds in the rock sections. We were able to find that during the course of the race, sometimes you'd come to little sandy valleys, and sometimes we had a couple engine problems that would keep us from getting full throttle. So we were unable to make it up these hills at 20 pounds, and we would have to back down and air down the tires and then climb right up at 5. It was just phenomenal. So I'm really impressed with it, and it works really, really well.
You're using the new ARB compressor system on that?
Yes, the twin compressors that we have those mounted underneath the seat. It will go from 0 to 120 pounds in about less than 2 minutes for our system.
That's exceptional. Brad, I know that you had an issue with a control arm in a ditch. Maybe you could characterize how you managed to get past that obstacle after having the problem with the control arm.
Well, it was about mile 8 or 9. We were driving along and went over a rise, and then down on the other side of the rise was a very deep ditch that I didn't see due to the dust and the sun. And we heard a loud pop, and we weren't sure what that was, so we kept going. And then we got up to about mile 21, and then the A-arm was flopping around. We had broken our mount in the rear on the A-arm. And once we stopped there, we figured our race was done, and we took a few minutes and collected our thoughts and figured out we could use our winch to pull our arm, the spindle and A-arm forward, and then that may give us enough to limp to pit 1 and then make some repairs there. So that's exactly what we did.
I understand this is a real credit to Master Pull's synthetic rope.
Yes, I figured this would be a nice little add-on of what else can you do with a Master Pull rope line or winch line or gear bag. The stuff they provided to us was all we had. When we hit the ditch, we also lost our spare tire and all of our tools, and luckily we put our Master Pull gear bag for the winch stuff in a separate compartment of the car. So that's all we had to work with, and it worked out great. We were able to take some of their stuff, fasten it to the A-arm, and then, or fasten it to the spindle and pull it all forward. And that allowed us to limp back to the pit and make repairs. Without that, we would still be out in the desert.
Griffin's not only the title sponsor of the King of the Hammers race, they also are the supplier of most of the cooling systems that we find out on the race course. And I see, of course, that you're using Griffin here too. How'd that work with the Duramax diesel?
We had no overheating problems at all, unless we noticed that we didn't turn on our electric fan. But I've used the Griffin radiators in Hummers and other vehicles for many, many years, and it was very nice of them to come on board and take care of our cooling needs with this big engine too. This thing runs cool, it runs cool all day long, and our transmission ran cool all day long.
Brad, I know that the car literally rolled off the trailer without shocks on it, and that you were able to put the whole shock package together at your garage tent on site at the King of the Hammers. How did the shocks work for you?
We're using the new Bilstein Blackhawk shocks. They are primarily used on trophy trucks and Class 1 cars. It's a very unique shock. It's all aluminum, and it's extruded aluminum, so it has cooling fins on it, which saved us when we broke our A-arm. And it's a bypass shock that's fully adjustable, and it's relatively lightweight also. And they worked fabulous. We haven't made any shock adjustments to the car yet. As far as suspension goes, we're going to change our spring rate a little bit and then go out and drive it some more, because it's very, very close right now.
I know that you're absolutely expert when it comes to suspension tuning, that's an area of focus when you work with the Rod Hall Racing program, and also even in the development of specialty shocks for military Hummers. So when you say that these things worked out of the box, that's really something, and you would know the difference.
Yeah, we may have to adjust the bypass valves a little bit and then mess with our gas pressure a little bit, but this car works really good right now, so it just really needs to be driven a little more and tweaked on just a little bit more, and then we'll be able to get all of it out of it.
The car came in, you just ran it over the scales after you got home, so that was a surprise. You really weren't quite clear when you went down there what it weighed, but you do know now.
Right. Yeah, we're going to be looking around 5,300 pounds race ready, so it's a little bigger and it's a little heavier than some of the other cars, because I think a lot of people fudge on their weights. This was 5,300 pounds with 2 people in it, with the tool bags in it, with a spare tire on it, so it is what it is. If you look at all the other cars, they've got just as much tubing and a lot of other components, so we all can't be lightweight like we say we are.
Brad, one of the most exciting features as far as I was concerned is this rear axle, where you've taken the drops or portals from the Hummer and actually fabricated tube sections out of the center section from a Hummer, so that you have literally a beam solid rear axle, not an IRS. How'd that work for you?
Well, I think it works better than everybody else's because I don't have any scratches in mine. So it worked phenomenal. One of the key points that made us stop the race is some of the fasteners that hold the geared hubs onto the flanges were actually starting to work their way loose, and I was a little concerned we could break an axle if that had worked loose, since we had no tools. So that was one of the big criteria that made me stop our race.
In terms of ground clearance, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, you have a better way to go than any beam axle, conventional beam axle with the drop portals. What is your actual ground clearance at the differential?
It's 16.5 inches.
And how does that compare with the others?
I think everyone else is around 12.
So that's a huge gain. When you're in the rocks, you've got clearance that the others don't.
And this is with the 39-inch tire.